Yeah.
All right, man. Well, now time to get into our shit, our own shit. Time to air out our shit. I say that
shit.
because I'm not afraid
Okay.
to say it.
Okay.
I am very disappointed in what I have not achieved.
Dude, in the goals, I know.
Very few in there. And I was
know.
so confident at the beginning of the year where I was like, dude, I'm going to keep it realistic.
I know. So I read the doc, like what you'd put down, like, you know, you'd like re-put in for those
In the
listening.
Google Doc. Yeah.
For those listening in the Google Doc, we communicate through that, and I'm looking at it and stuff, and I'm seeing all the goals that we had wrote down, like you just reposted in there, so we had like a refresher course.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh damn it. And then I go, no shit, I forgot I said that. Like I didn't even try this year. So like there's been underlying issues. There's other things that have happened. I didn't get on the water nearly as much as I wanted to. I could make a bunch of excuses, but bottom line is I didn't do a lot of what I said.
Mm-hmm.
But I will also say that this is a nice, humble way, like, to understand, like, for people out there that are thinking about fishing, or if you came here to learn about fishing and you're trying to learn and stuff, like, just like in fishing, your failures are learning
experiences.
Yes, learning experiences. They're a chance for you to improve on or change what you've done, and to look at what our goals were, and to see, and to just be like, you know, like the thought process of like, how could I have made all these goals? And one of them that I looked at was like, I put the state record dogfish, and I'm just like, well, a good start is maybe trying for them once. I didn't even
maybe
like that.
Even trying.
I had the thought. I was like, yes, but then when I finally got a chance to go fishing, I was so hell bent on doing all this other stuff that I completely even forgot I said it. And now I'm just like, damn it, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, that would be maybe try to, I don't know if I can catch them through the ice, but I did learn stuff. So
a lot of dogfish come out of the ice fishing, from what I understand.
Well, eel pout are different than dogfish.
Oh, really? We talked about the eel pout so much, and I thought that was the same fish.
Eel pout are, the dogfish are called bowfin. Oh, bowfin and eel pout are different. Dogfish, eel pout are kind of like, man, softer almost. Like
yeah. They're like
they don't have like the
almost.
And dogfish are like an ancient armor-plated beast.
Yeah, no, I know what a bowfin is. I just
they're gnarly, dude. Their faces
like we did a whole
look like
an episode on this shit, and I what?
Where
was I?
I don't know, man. I'm sure you're just like forgetting it, or just like remembering it wrong.
Yeah, I'm mixing up the memory for sure. I'm definitely mixing up the memory.
But yeah, the bowfin,
because I didn't go back and listen to our goals episode. I just
the bowfin
wrote them down.
Yeah, the bowfin are like a solid color with like the spot on their tail.
Yeah.
And the eel pout are like a tiger, like the whole body striped. So they're
I'm not
quite
remembering that properly.
They kind of have like the same style of tail, but they're quite different.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, for sure. And as soon as you said bowfin, I was like, oh, that is not an eel pout, because I know an eel pout is an eel pout's just like a weird looking fucking catfish. Like I said, like in my opinion, that's what it is. It's just a different. It's not, but it is that sort of.
No, but it does look a lot like it. It is very catfishy. I don't know what the difference. I suppose it's like it doesn't have whiskers, so I don't know what the difference is there. But it is very catfishy because it does have kind of the same tail. I suppose it doesn't have like the same flat face, but it's close. So
yeah, no, it has a different. It's not as pointed as its tail. It's still like super pointy tail, but then head gets flatter, but not like
yeah, not quite flat. The same. Yeah,
but
sure. No, man, it's I've seen those dogfish. I've heard the same stupid ass shit from everybody. Like, Joe, oh, watch out, they're gonna bite you. They're mean, they will bite you. And like the same thing with like muskies and stuff. My friend used to feed them hot dogs and then they would bite his toes. I've never met anybody that's been bit by one. I've never seen it. I've swam in these crystal clear waters where these fish can see me plain as day and they don't mess with me. They're like, the moment I get close, they're diving. The bowfins are like gone in the weeds. Like they do not stick around.
Right. Okay. Skittish.
There was one time, did I say this on the episode, the one time where I had to eat my sunfish?
Oh,
I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds super familiar.
Yeah, I had a stringer. I had a sunfish on an old school stringer when I was a kid. I had the like the bench seat Lund, and I had like one nice sunfish that I put on the stringer where you like put through the gills and then like put the metal loop through the thing.
Put it through the mouth, through the gill, and then you loop it.
And I didn't have it tied good enough, and then all of a sudden the bowfin goes swimming away with that big colorful line hanging out of its mouth.
No kidding.
Bitch ate my big ass. So it's like, well, they eat fish. That's the ticket right there. I just got to put on like a big sucker minnow with a bobber and fish in like 3 feet of water. So that's why I was like, I seen the biggest ones ever, and the state record doesn't look that big. So I'm just like, I just got to be patient and do this. And then I never did it. So that was my plan. But
so we'll come back to them. I mean, like we'll revisit these again at the end.
Oh, for sure.
When we do our 2023 goals, we're going to look at these, right? And we're going to say, okay, repurpose this, maybe not. And I only say that to say, I love what you said. We say it on the Real AF TV podcast, and we haven't said it enough lately, is that like learn from your failures, dude. That's like, that's part of what we're here for, is you, the listener, can listen to us and learn from our failures, right? So then you don't have to go and make those mistakes, or you can say like, oh, I almost did that, or, whatever the case may be, because that is the way that I've been looking at it too, Tim, is like, I looked at this list and I was like, are you fucking kidding me, dude?
I know.
I have 3 things on there and I didn't do one. Now, I didn't do them. Now, I want to say 2 things. Pike is still possible. Catfish fry, little bit of a stretch.
I think we could do it. I just gotta find. Yeah, that one we can do.
I think there's still time for that one. There's possibly time left for the catfish
fry. We could for sure do it if we take a shortcut and just go to the grocery store.
I should have put down catfish fry catching catfish.
Right.
But I it was implied. It was implied in when we actually did the episode. But here's the thing. Sure. The walleye fishing for eaters using my new gear. Unless I went this weekend, I just don't think that's going to happen. Now, it's not like if we could really make the pike thing happen and the walleye thing happen if it was just like, dude, let's go. I could go now and achieve my goal, and then that totally fucks all yours. But not necessarily, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
The point that I'm trying to make is I definitely am looking at these and I'm trying to learn from them. And like, I had a buddy ask me last year, he's like, I bet you there's catfish down there at that part of the river, whatever. I might see him this weekend. If I do, I'm going to ask him, is there even water there anymore? Because that is actually one thing we're fighting right now.
That makes sense.
Drought, extreme drought.
It is dry. Yep. Haven't had rain for a while, but that's kind of how it goes. It's nice to have all the leaves dry up and stuff, to not have wet leaves everywhere.
I fucking hate wet leaves, dude.
Oh, dude, they suck.
They're the worst.
I think the hunters like them though. Because right now, if you're like trying to do anything, like the leaves, the dry leaves, or like you try to walk anywhere, it's like every step.
Right.
So that's what I've heard too, is like the first snowfall is nice for like hunting, because it makes everything quieter. It kind of like dampens everything.
Yep.
So, but I'm not a hunter, but we've talked about that before. Pheasant hunting, I'm into now. We will do that for sure. But
hell yeah. You're going to get out and do that?
I do for sure. I definitely want to do it again. Like, as long as I get people that are cool with me, like, I don't know if I'll go do it by myself.
Right. Yeah.
But if I can go with people.
You're looking for a group. Like, you're going to try to gather a group again. Yeah.
Or, random side note, if anybody listens to this, I'm sure you've heard us reference Sam and stuff. We should hit him up and see if we can go with him. He goes grouse hunting, which is close to the same thing.
Yeah.
Let's put together a grouse hunting trip, all of us, like, because I've never hunted with any of you guys.
Right.
So let's
go
same
I've
birds. And he said it's like
it.
the same as pheasants. Like you just walk and pop them when they go off.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's
That's
pretty
exactly
cool.
What
they're
hunting
super
is.
loud.
If anybody hasn't been out hunting, that was a very accurate impression. It's exactly what
Especially if you're over on YouTube watching the video. You didn't do the motions.
Oh, it's there. You just that's a tutorial right there. Now you learn something.
Not actual hunting advice.
Little disclaimer. If you go out there trying to do any of that stuff and injure yourself, Real AF TV is not liable.
So the walleye thing, Tim, the gear. I said with my new gear, obviously there's time in 2022 still to go and catch walleye, to go catch eater walleye.
Yeah.
There is. I just can't see myself getting on the water in a way to use my new gear because all my new gear is like deep diving. That's not entirely true. I do have those jigs, I guess, but I didn't buy those for walleyes. But what are those? Shoot, I opened them up on one of the Christmas episodes, but they're they're like this big and they have a treble hook at the end of them. They're kind of spoon shaped.
Oh, like the jigging, like the buckshot, I think is what you had. The Northland buckshots. Yeah.
Yes. So that technically is new gear.
Yeah. Walleye? That's like a jig and spoon. You could catch a walleye on it. Like during the summer and stuff, or like the open water season, I think it's a little bit harder to catch on those. And that's a little bit harder to kind of play around with too. It doesn't really fall good. Like that's more of an ice fishing thing because it's good to kind of like sit there and jiggle it in front of a fish. Casting it out and kind of working it back, you can.
Right.
A walleye might bite on that, but it's a little bit a jig and spoon would work. I've never tried to use that buckshot. I think it's a little bit more streamlined. I think it has a faster fall rate. So I don't know how good it would work. But like a cast master is like a nicer, it like has more of a flutter as it falls.
Oh yeah.
So like a cast master is a little bit more like of a flatter profile.
Okay.
Kind of the same idea, but a little bit flatter profile. And that works. Sure. So that's why I'm like, maybe the buckshot would work, but the buckshot is kind of like rounded. So I think it would fall through the water kind of fast. I think it's really designed for ice fishing, but you could probably use it in the open water period.
But if the ice gets thick enough before the end of the year, and I consider that new gear, and I go fishing with it for walleye.
Oh yeah, get out there. Yeah,
that would count, right?
Yeah, you got like 5 days before ice fishing season. No, I don't know. Minnesota, it's gonna take longer than that because it's got to get cold and drop everything. It'll take a while, but
right.
It's definitely.
But there's definitely time
enough
between like Thanksgiving and New Year's that. Like you can fish the ice in December if it gets good. So I wasn't necessarily counting those as walleye, like my walleye gear, because I have those. I have that deep dive 7-inch that I bought.
Oh yeah,
that Rapala, right?
Yes, sir.
And I bought.
You could use that from shore too if you could use that from shore too if you had a spot that dropped off faster. You know. Like
so like if I found a drop off, like
if you knew that it dropped really off fast,
that thing.
Yeah, because when you're casting it out, it's not going to dive as deep as when you're trying to troll or anything. It's going to get down there faster, but it's
going to take time still.
It's going to take a little bit of time to get down there, but you can work deep diving baits not all the way down, especially when it's cold like this. Because I'm betting that one's like a floating one.
Okay.
You can kind of reel that and it'll dive down and then pause. Floats up a little bit, reel it down, pause.
Oh, okay.
Pause. Rod placement makes a big difference too.
Mm-hmm.
You hold your rod tip up. It's obviously not going to dive down as far as it goes. You know, your line makes a difference. If you're using monofilament floats and the diameter is a little bit bigger. If you're using like a thinner braid, that'll probably dive a little bit. Well, not probably, it will dive deeper. If you're using a braid of the same pound test as a monofilament, the braid is going to make your bait dive deeper.
Okay.
Because the diameter is less. There's less resistance on the water. It might not be much, especially if you're just casting.
Yeah.
But you can do that. I've had deeper diving crankbaits on and like worked them back to the dock before just because I have them on and I'm like, well, I'm just going to cast it out.
You're like, I'll just see what happens, huh?
Yeah. Just
I doubt I'll get a walleye like that, but I get what you're saying. If I find an edge right now as the water's changing.
Yeah. And with the weeds start dying off and stuff, the only like if you start having less foliage, then
right.
It's
gonna lighten up right now.
You won't hit
less and
water gets colder. If you find a spot where there is weeds, the problem right now is that the weeds are like not strong. So in the middle of summer, when they're holding tight, the roots are strong. You get a weed, you can rip it free sometimes, and now, like almost without a doubt, you're pulling out the whole thing. It's coming up. Like you're not ripping it free.
When you say rip it free, you mean like snap the plant mid.
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
this
you
time
can like
you're gonna just tug and get roots and everything.
Exactly, the whole plant's coming out. Yeah, it happens a lot. So, it's still a possibility for sure. But yeah, that's it's
I don't know if I'm gonna get it.
The fishing season was kind of cut short for me. But I think we can definitely set that goal for next year if we can't get it this year. But for sure, there should be ice that's fishable early. If we can't drive out, we can at least walk out.
Walk out for sure.
Yeah, I would think.
Right.
It's like earlier this week, it was highs of 40, so I'm sure we're gonna have ice soon.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
for
man.
Sure.
But when I was, go ahead.
Oh, okay. One more. The pikes. I want to talk about the pike because the pike bites. I still have hope for the pickled pike bite episode, or the getting a pike. All I need is one eater pike, and I can fucking make the episode. I've been doing some things. I did get out to Waconia. I did try it. Tons of weeds.
Yeah.
I got some new stuff.
Yeah.
I will try it again before the ice goes out. I had a guy come and rip a musky lure through.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, well, if there's any pike out here, this guy's gonna get him. But maybe not, because maybe his lure was too big, maybe it was too flashy, maybe it was too fast.
That's always the thing, man. You're always trying to, like, he was going after them aggressive ones. There could have been a fish sitting right there.
Right.
That saw his lure and was just like, not today, bro. And then sees your bait and just goes,
yeah.
I mean, like, if it's here, I guess I'll eat it,
Yeah. That's totally the ones I was going for too. Like I saw him come out and I was like, okay, cool. Yeah. He's going to cover a lot of water quickly. And he did. That's exactly what he did. He just went out, ripped the thing in.
Yeah.
Ripped it. He did the whole pier in like 20 minutes, maybe not even 20 minutes. And took off. And I was like, okay, cool. Cause I'm not fishing like that. And so, yeah, we got both techniques. I got to see both techniques. So that was good.
Well, to know that somebody else is like throwing baits like that where you are, that gives you a little bit more confidence too, to just be like, all right, I'm not the only person here. Clearly, somebody else thinks that there might be fish here too.
Right.
It might not be. You might both be wrong, but at least somebody else is on the same page as you. Where, that always makes me feel good. Like when I'm in a spot of the lake where nobody else is, and there's not a single other boat, or I've never really seen people fish in that spot. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I just go, why is this? And then I catch a fish and I go, I don't know, I guess. And then I just keep going. But sometimes when you don't catch fish, you're just like, oh, looks like other people know something I don't know, But other times you're just like, I don't have any explanation to why nobody else is here. Like, it seems to be a great spot. I thought it was a great spot. So far, it's turning out to be a great spot. Sure. I don't know why I'm here by myself.
Yeah. Well, that was actually, to tie it into the goals thing. That's actually what you had down, is like, you had down why are ice fishers where they are? They seem to be where I would never, and you figured that out. We kind of got an answer for it or whatever, but you're describing that right now because so many people are ice fishing in houses. You don't know what the fuck is going on.
Right.
So you're just huddling up because you think so, or
because you don't
right?
You don't
you're
get
guessing.
Exactly. And you don't get to witness anybody catching them. You don't know what they're fishing for. So you just have a house there and you just get to go, okay, there's a house there, but are they having any success?
Right.
You know, they might not know what they're doing. They might just have a house. They might just be going based off of a place.
Hanging out.
Yeah, exactly. They just put their house down on the spot that they thought would work.
Yeah.
And they might not catch anything, and they might not care.
And they might not give a fuck. Yes, exactly.
Because they don't like their wives. And they're just like, let's just go out into the ice and get drunk.
Yeah.
And just be like, it'd be nice to catch some fish. And then the guy in the thing is just like, I don't know where fish are. I just put this thing here, drilled a hole, and then popped open a bottle, bro. Like, what?
Right. And for all you know, there's 10 guys doing that. And you're just like,
yeah,
there they all are. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
And meanwhile, in case my wife is listening, to be clear, I love my wife and I am actively targeting fish. I'm not out there getting drunk trying to escape you.
Right.
So suck it. Oh man.
But that was one you checked off your list. Like we crossed that one out early in the year. We like that was one of the goals we crossed off early because we talked about you got your ice camera.
Yeah.
So check that off.
Got that ice camera. And yeah, and like you said, I did get out there and I figured it out. And for anybody that didn't listen to that episode, you can go back and check it out. But what I did do is, as far as crappies go, is I was able to find those super deep in the middle of summer, like almost to like the basin of the lake. So they were almost in the deepest spot of the lake,
right? Just
suspending in the middle of nothingness.
Right.
So if that's what they're doing in the middle of the day, and that's kind of where they retreat to, from my understanding, is when it gets cold.
Yeah.
Is that's just kind of where they spend the majority of their time because they have this ability to come up a little bit higher when it's, midday and it feels a little bit warmer, or go back down when it gets too cold because we're hitting -14 and they're just like, I'm going deeper where it's warmer.
Right.
They're just able to move and find that comfortable space. Now walleyes and stuff, I learned a little bit about that, but I haven't dialed that in, so I can't give you any specifics and stuff. But from what I learned last year is that's kind of where they are. Now I've understood, like, that's where they are even in the summer.
Right.
Midday, that's where they're retreating to. I think it's because the predatory fish, when they spread out or they go into the deeper water, there's not a whole lot of rhyme or reason. I think the bigger fish are having a hard time finding them because come sundown, dude, like clockwork, we were nailing the crappies on the weed edge. When the sun gets down, you have like an hour before the sun sets.
Yeah.
So like in the middle of summer, between like 8 and 9 o'clock, everybody's just like crappie, 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 crappie. We're all nailing them, but it's that window.
Yeah.
We would get out there and we would put down an anchor because we knew that the fish weren't in yet. Sometimes the anchors can scare them, but you put that anchor rope down and the anchor rope doesn't seem to like spook them as much once it's already down. When
once
you drop
it's already there,
anchor,
it's just structure.
Yeah, once it's already there. So they're already like moving in and we're already there.
Yeah.
So exactly like you said, we're just structure at this point. Like they're not scared of us because we're just there.
Right.
So we're just killing them and it's that 1 hour period. And I'm like, this is so weird. I don't understand why they're only eating for an hour.
Right.
And then I just spent some time on the water really trying to hone it in, figure out like why? How are they not here? And it's just like, oh, they're, or like, why are they not biting was my initial thought.
Right.
And the answer is they are biting. They're just not here. They're in 30, I think it was like 39 feet of water. I caught one off the bottom.
Yeah. Right.
And I had no idea. So it's like, okay, that's why the ice houses are in this deep water, seemingly in the middle of nowhere, because that's where the crappies are in the winter and in the summer at certain points of the day.
Like during
they're just in the middle of nowhere.
Like maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
kind of drawing a conclusion there, but like kind of safe to say, like, I can take what I just did in the summer. I learned something in the summer that applies to that thing I was trying to learn in the wintertime.
Exactly. So I did learn a
cool
little bit about where people are and why they are. And so far, just real short, breaking it down, they're still relating to structure if they're like walleyes and stuff. Crappies are suspending in the deepest part of water. Or if there's any remaining vegetation, if there's any weeds that are alive, because there are some that still live even when the ice freezes over, the lake freezes over, they're also hitting that up because it's a higher oxygen content because the plants are putting out that oxygen. So the fish like that oxygen when it's sealed off from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So those are your three things. If you can find plants, which obviously it's not going to show you on the maps, that's something that you got to get out there and kind of figure out. But structure still holds some fish which is a little bit different. I'm not going to get into all that right now, and then the crappies just seem to be deep water.
Yeah.
So that's a real simplified version of all of that.
Of course.
But that's a lot of stuff that I learned from like last year, really digging into ice fishing and trying to learn. And then the summer, kind of putting together what I learned about the movements of the fish in the cold weather periods, and then being able to put it all together to just be like, I understand a little bit more about where they are.
Yeah, for sure.
And now I can make an educated guess on lakes that I've never been to about where they might be.
Yeah.
So that feels good. Is like, I didn't accomplish a lot of the goals, but I did find out some things.
And a lot. I mean, that's good. A lot though, too, in two, because you had 3 goals there kind of, and the ice fishing camera was, dependent on if you won and you won. And you used it, you kind of like, you got a good grip on your ice. Not only did you get the ice fishing camera, but you like got a decent hold of it, right? Like, you know how to use that fucking thing is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Yeah, I learned some things doing that too. Yeah. Like where like the first time we put it down, it seemed like the fish were there when I put it down and then they weren't. So I'm like, got to learn a way to like put it farther away and angle it at a different angle. So it's
and like
there, but not as invasive. I don't want it to be able to see it. Like you can point it down. I think I just got to learn the angles, do some math on that.
Right.
I'm 15 feet away, move the hole over 20 feet, angle it at this. Like, I think might be able to find a chart out there even,
Hell yeah.
To just be like, how far or what angle? Jig,
Yeah. That's really, no, that's cool, because then also why are ice fishers where they are? Because they seem to not be where they are in the summer. Nobody's fishing for crappies at 40 feet. You were just trying to figure things out, and you turned it into ice fishing information, right? Yeah. Like, that's so fucking cool. It just like these 3 things that you did, because it says ice fishing for walleye specifically. You did that briefly. Yep. It counted, totally counted. We talked about that on podcast.
Did we ever talk about how I got that bite on here in front of you guys, and I just missed it? Oh.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we talked about that for sure.
That I tell you what, a lot of times I'm not excited for winter to come and stuff, but I can't wait for these lakes to freeze over to get back to like, I'm totally cool with it, not because I'd like to, but it's been eating at me for a year. I need to get out there and make this right.
I know it has. I was there for when it happened, and I know it hit you on the drive back, but I just had a feeling as me and my wife were leaving that day, I was like, I think Tim thinks that was a fish.
I knew. I know.
And I just drove away, and you said you like the whole ride home, it ate at you. Mm-hmm. You know it was a fish. You knew it was a fish. Like, you look back at it now, and you're like, that was a fucking fish. That was probably a walleye.
I think it was a pretty good fish.
Yeah.
And for some reason, my summer brain was going, and it was like, oh, I felt the bite. I'll just wait a second before I set the hook. No, I have a treble hook. Like, for sure, I feel the bite. I set the hook. You don't wait. And then I hesitated, and then I set the hook, and then I didn't have the fish there.
Right.
And then later I'm just like driving home the whole time, and I've been doing it ever since. Where I'm
it
just
still
like,
happens in the middle
you
of
feel
August,
the bite, you set the hook. It happens midday randomly. I have the ADD thing going on where it's always constantly things are just like my brain is a million miles a minute all the time. It is not easy. I'm not trying to make excuses and stuff, but it happens. No. And like I'll be doing something and all of a sudden the thought comes across and I just like yell to myself. Like I probably look like an absolutely insane person. And I understand where some of these insane people are coming from if they can't control their thoughts either. Because I'll be driving and all of a sudden I just go, you feel the bite, you set the hook. And then like if nobody's around, like that sounds absolutely crazy. And it probably is crazy, but that's what I'm doing. I'm just yelling out.
It's happening.
In my head, it's like just one more foresight, just to let you know. If any of the listeners care, cool. But I told my wife this the other day because I had an epiphany of like what it was like for my brain. Because I've heard a couple of people talking about this ADD, and I'm just like, I didn't know that nobody else thought like this. So I'm starting to learn all these things where I'm just like, oh, like, okay, so there is something going on here where I'm just like, no, everybody's like this, but they aren't. Right. And there are times where I'll be listening to a podcast, right? And I'm driving. So I'm doing the driving, making sure I'm going to my right area because I'm a delivery driver, if anybody didn't know. So I'm doing my deliveries. I'm making sure I got the package going to the next spot. I'm listening to the podcast. As I'm driving to this spot, all of a sudden I realize I haven't been listening to the podcast for the last 5 minutes because I am singing a song that came into my head and I just completely let everything else go out the window. I have just been jamming out. I am singing a song over a podcast for no reason whatsoever. And then there are also times where I will pause the podcast to just be like, I need to rewind and go back to that. But right now, I'm busy singing this song. I'll just pause it to jam out in my own head. There's no music. I'm just like, so if anybody sees me at the beginning of this podcast or other times where I'm just kind of like bobbing, like there's music and stuff playing, it's because I am doing two things at once. I am mentally playing a song and I am
listening to what's going on the other end of the podcast.
So insanity. Sometimes I think I'm crazy, but that's what's going on in my head. And sometimes I think it lends a little bit to why I'm not getting these tasks done, where I set these things, like I say, I'm going to break the state record of dogfish.
Yep.
And then it doesn't come up until I look at the note again where I go, oh, damn it, I didn't even fish for dogfish. Oh man.
Well, we could pull down. We always pull down the curtain here on the podcast, so it doesn't matter. But more fishing with cameras, and then a good stretch of time with cameras for walleye season. Those two are two different goals. Which totally.
So that one, 100% I did. But here's the full disclosure of it.
And no, we're not making excuses either. Also, like,
no,
this isn't like, I don't think we're making excuses, but you've said a couple times not to make excuses. And I want to just say it again, like full clear.
For sure.
Like, I don't think we're making excuses. I think both of us like to avoid making excuses. And again, learn from this by just admitting to what happened.
For sure. Yes. So, no.
I just want to say that before, I mean,
yeah.
Let us know in the comments if you think we're just making excuses.
No. So what happened with me was I did get out there. I did film for it. And I just had a horseshit year when it came to walleyes. Oh, I caught walleye after walleye. Yeah. And they were all little, dude. They were all tiny. I'm finding walleyes in super deep water. I caught one in like 30 some feet. That's a new feat. So there were times where I'm out there and I'm learning stuff and I'm catching new stuff. But for the most part, it's like 2.5, 3 hours of footage. And I catch one small walleye and I'm marking stuff and I'm learning about things.
Yeah.
And then it's just, that's it. I'm just like, we
might be able to do something with that though. Because the whole like learning from your failures and things, or just like trying to teach people, like the Real AF TVs, we started Real AF TV as like something funny and fun to learn from. Right? Yeah. Like that was kind of our goal.
Yeah.
And we might be able to do something with that. But I get where you're going. Like, you look at 3 hours of footage and you just go, snooze fest.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm going to be 100% honest because I really can't remember what happened. But there were these things that I set out to do, and I had certain lures. Mm-hmm. The jig and wrap, the Rapala jig and wrap. Holy shit. Is that a game changer?
What?
My God. I am in love with this lure. I started learning new ways to fish it, learning how to do different stuff with it. I learned some tips out there. VMC makes a hook where it's the treble hook, right? So you got the 3 hooks off of the one
shaft,
and then they have a resin on the bottom of the treble hook that is attached to a barrel swivel, and that barrel swivel goes to a small willow blade.
I don't even know what a willow blade is, but
a willow blade is like the longer pointy, like if it was an oval, but it had 2 points on each side. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
So it's, I mean, they kind of name it after the willow leaf, right? So it's kind of like, a willow blade is like the longer pointy one. An Indiana blade is like the teardrop shape, where it's kind of like round on one side, but it comes to a point. And a Colorado blade is the one that's almost a perfect circle.
Okay.
So those are your 3 different blades. And the willow blade is one small pointy blade, and that blade rotates as you're jigging this thing.
Yeah.
And the jig and wrap, when you fish it, it darts. Like, so it's just a pew, 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 pew. Every time you pull it on a slack line, you're moving it and stuff.
Yeah.
I was casting this thing out, working it back, like just not letting it fall all the way. Working it like I'm walking the dog, almost like a walk the dog bait, you know, where you're making it go back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah.
Just keep reeling it up as I'm doing it. And I'm basically walking the dog under the water, way down towards the bottom.
Oh.
I am lighting fish up. It's how I caught that crappie in super deep water. It's how I caught that walleye in super deep water. Everything I'm doing is working with this bait.
Nice.
I'm in love with it. And I lost most of them.
What?
Like, broke them off. They got bit off. I honestly can't remember what the hell happened now. And maybe it's because I've been having fistfuls of bourbon, but I can't think of honestly what I did. But I know that like I broke off a lot of the lines, and I don't have any of multiple, those hooks.
But no, like shade to the lure or anything like that.
No,
like,
no. The lure was killing it.
The reason why you were losing them probably was because the lure was getting fucking lit up, right?
I think I did get bit off a couple of times, and I think maybe some northerns, maybe some bigger fish. I don't know 100% what was happening. I know one of them got stuck on something. Dude, I don't know. It was like it caught the bottom of the lake. It was weird. That doesn't happen a lot on the lake that I fish.
Some shit like that too.
That's what I'm thinking. Like I got down there and I caught something that fell to the bottom. I don't know. Trolling motor. I have no idea. Something down there.
Did you say trolling motor?
I'm just throwing out ideas. I don't know. Something down there I could not budge. And I broke the line. So I lost that. I forgot where I was going with this story. But
anyways, I mean, you were talking about walleye fishing, like, and figuring that out with the cameras, so because you caught walleye.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's what I was.
This bait helped you actually catch some walleye, and you had the cameras on you, but it turned into what you feel like is nothing. So, and maybe we should review it, but I haven't edited some of this footage you've already. So to get to the more fishing with cameras. You did more fishing this year with the cameras than you had any other year so far. I mean, there's still time, right?
And that whole, I want to just go back real quick. That whole point that I was making with that, because I forgot where I was going.
Okay.
Was that I was really focusing on the weed edges most of the time in the past, and it was working.
Sure.
This year it wasn't. I wasn't catching any walleyes and stuff. So I branched out and I tried to go into deeper water, and I was catching some fish. But for whatever reason, it was like every time I went out there, I was like losing my lures. And then I'm like, well, my game plan's completely out the window. Because what was working is not an option anymore. Right. I don't know what to do because I tried jigging deep and jigging wasn't working. Like a regular jig in a minnow or a jig in a soft plastic, and ripping it fast too. That's another tactic to get people, like having like a 3/8 ounce and just whop, 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 like really ripping it hard.
Okay.
Because in the summer,
and you let it fall back down, like you just rip it off the bottom and then let it fall, and then rip it and let it fall. Okay.
Really ripping it fast though, ripping it hard. Like it's almost sounds annoying because it's like whoosh, 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 like making noises, and it worked, man. But I'm only catching babies, so the fishery that I'm trying on, I think we might just be having a down year of sizes and stuff.
Sure.
Because I tried, that's what really led me into the deeper water, is trying to get out there. Because I'm like, that was one of my goals. I'm not having luck. I want to accomplish this. Let's try to figure it out. And I just wasn't putting it together where I was catching decent fish. I was catching fish, but when I don't catch big ones, I feel like I didn't really figure anything out because babies are stupid. I'm like, I don't know. That baby could have just been not knowing what it was doing, but I caught a lot of them. So I was like, well, maybe I have something here and we're just to a size where there's just nothing left. I don't know.
I get it. And let me ask a question about these walleye and this specific goal. Be ready for a good stretch of time with cameras for walleye. So you're ready. You got the cameras. They're ready. They've already been on the water. Good stretch of time. You define that however you will right now. But my question is it's October.
Yeah.
Is that still to you walleye season? Is doing this on the ice an option?
Yes,
like if you did this still on the ice during walleye season this year, would you count that to check that goal off? Because I would.
Not only is it something that I could check off in ice fish season, but I think it's something that I could still get done in the cold. As long as we don't drop too fast to where I'm having to deal with ice. Like if we could have a stretch of 50s or whatever.
Oh, you mean still getting out on the open ice?
I will bundle up and I will go fishing the open water as long as
that's another goal you have on here is more fishing on the water in the fall. Don't capsize.
I have never fished in October, and we're getting close to it being November. So I'm ready. Right. I'm still ready to get out there. It just has to work out with the schedules and stuff.
It's so hard, and it gets harder when it's cold too, because the amount of prep that goes into it is that much
exactly longer. And that's another thing. Again, if anybody is a new listener and you're not familiar, I don't have like a legitimate boat. If I had a legitimate boat, like a boat, I have no excuses where everything's like set up and ready to go, and it's just like go launch it and go because everything's in there. Because you got a rod locker and all that other stuff, like everything's ready in your boat. You just go. But I don't have that.
Right.
You know, so it's like I need a little bit more time to be able to get out there. And quite honestly, I just feel guilty to just tell my wife, like,
we both have
take care of the kid while I go do my thing.
Yeah.
So.
And that's actually in the last episode, in episode 55, was it 50? Yeah, it was episode 55. It might have been 54. Yeah. Anyways, we talked about the pike, right? And I got tips. I was like, Tim, I'm going to kind of hijack this topic. It wasn't just a hijacking, but I flat out said it in that podcast. I was just like, I already picked my spot. I'm going to stick with it. This is where it's going to happen this year, I believe. And it was Waconia.
Yeah.
It was Waconia because I know enough people to just be like, I'm not just peacing out from my wife and kid. It's like, I'll give them a place to hang out. And instead of hanging out with them, I'm just going to go fishing for a couple hours. And so, like, that's it. That's we have the same experience there.
That's exactly,
we're saying the same thing.
Yeah. And that's how I get a lot of the stuff done in the summer. Is because my parents have a cabin. That's why I fish the same lake all the time. Because that's where I can go and fish and be like, grandma and grandpa can help with my son.
Right.
And you have some company, like you guys can all chill back here.
Right. And you hardly know I'm gone, right?
Right. And it's just
like
a couple hours. Yeah, exactly. It's like a couple.
I'm not there.
Right. And when it's not driving to a lake, launching a boat, all that stuff, it's like I'm just taking the boat off of the lift. I have a couple hour session to myself, and then I come back in, like,
right.
I'm gonna be gone for 2-3 hours. Don't worry about it. Or a lot of times too, it's like most of the time I'm doing it early morning. Like,
sure,
the first couple of hours are done before you guys even wake up. So that's a different story, where when I'm driving someplace and it's in my own house,
right,
I'm like waking everybody up, trying to get up and trying to leave the house and shit. And
yeah.
And then by the time I get to the lake, then it's like, oh, how's fishing going? Well, I just fucking got here.
Just launched. Yeah, for sure. Well, dude, I hope you get it out. I hope you get the boat out there in the fall. That'd be really cool. But
yeah, I mean, I haven't tried out the
part
new...
is definitely different. And what about this is the one thing that I think about in the fall. I doubt it's going to happen to me. I am definitely going to fish here again in like October, beginning of November for sure. I just got some new gear. But
okay,
which
sweet.
I'll post on the Twitter. Actually, I'm going to post it over on the Twitter account here not too long. So look us up, Real AFTV on Twitter, Real AFTV, like fishing reel. But what about? And we don't have to get into it too far because we still got one more I want to go over. We're going to probably skip the Real AFTV goals, but maybe we'll get to it. What about the fact that the ice may not build up on the water, but the temperature is cold enough to build up ice on your rod? Like, how do you prep for that if you're out on, if you're taking the boat out, like if you're bundling up and going out? Is there anything you can even fucking do about that?
Not really. I don't think so. Because I don't think it's, when it's that cold,
would you probably even be out there?
Probably not, because if it's below freezing, like the surface of the water is going to start like getting a little bit of ice to it most of the time. Okay. Unless it's a little bit windy, and
with your mini boat, you're just kind of like
wind is like I'm
stuck. A little bit of wind and the possibility of ice is kind of not.
Yeah, it does happen a little. Yeah, it does happen a little bit on the islets and stuff, but it's not that big of a deal. Like, you can get over it. Like, that happens when you're ice fishing.
Yeah,
like the islets start icing up and stuff, and
right.
It's just something
but you make a good
with.
point. You just the motion of the reeling. Right.
If you're out there,
in breaks that little tiny bit of ice. Okay.
Yeah, if you're working it in and casting it out and stuff, most of the time just keep them moving is enough.
Sure.
To not worry about it. Obviously, I haven't been fishing this late, but I have been fishing in the ice, and even ice fishing, like, it's not that big of a deal. It's more like worrying about the whole icing over if there's not enough.
And if you're getting out here in the fall, in this late fall part, it's not enough it shouldn't be enough to worry about. Sure.
Nah.
Yeah,
I wouldn't know.
All right.
Because I don't think I'm going out there if it's like below freezing.
Right.
I'm talking like 40s.
Right. 40.
Maybe if it starts like that in the morning, but like you got some sunshine, like just the sunshine is enough.
Yeah.
To heat it up to not have everything freezing. Like, just even the sunshine hitting your rod tip is enough. To not let it ice up.
Yeah, for sure. So the last one on your list that I definitely have to throw out there, because you were super confident this would work. The Kyogre lure, the Pokemon lure, dude. The Pokemon lure. We did a whole unboxing and shit over on the YouTube channel. You should go check it out. It's a really dope video. I loved it. And I brought it up because during that you're like, this will catch a fish for sure. And then I brought it up during the goals. Like, again, I didn't go back and listen, but this is my memory of going, yeah, dude, you're going to catch something with that? And you were like, yeah, dude, I can make that thing work for sure. So tell me now that we're this late, what do you think?
I ain't even use it. Another thing where, like, I bought new line for the musky rod and I never even got new line put on the reel.
Ah, shit.
It was just a super short season, man. Like, things got cut short. My mom had some pretty major surgery.
Yep.
And we just didn't get up to the cabin until like later in the year, and having the little boat and stuff. And again, that whole feeling guilty of like just being like, well, you guys have fun. I'm going to go, on the lake without you is like, it's just kind of rough.
Yeah.
So
it's hard to get over.
Yeah. It's just one of those things where like, I'm really trying to figure it out. Been playing the Powerball. Figure if that hits, then hey,
I can get a nanny and I can go fishing.
Solution right there. You make enough money. That's one thing I promise everybody.
With no PTO needed. Fucking
that is sweet. One thing I promise everybody. If I hit the lottery, this is not gonna stop. This is just gonna be like I have funds. To not have like this can be my full-time job now. Like
for real. Yes, this will only get better if I hit the lottery. So
for
help
sure,
me out. Go over to realaf.tv/Patreon and help fund
yeah. Oh, give us a couple bucks so I can get a couple more lotto tickets. I'm not out there crazy. I'm just like,
drop a couple bucks every couple
tickets, everything, just being like, well, I don't know, whatever.
Right. No, I get it. But that's it, man. I figured that I wanted to figure out about the Cayuga Luger. I wanted to end on that to be like, I think I just called it a Luger, by the way, which is definitely not something you fish.
Cayuga
that would
Luger.
be illegal. But I wanted to bring it up because I think it's too late now. I mean, I'm not saying you couldn't go like tie it on and throw it out, like tomorrow or something. But
dude, it's not too late yet, because the winter months, or not the winter months, but the colder fall months are known for having like phenomenal walleye and muskie fishing.
Oh,
so it's not
like that
over
guy
yet.
On the pier, I guess. Huh?
And a slower walking bait, it might be a possibility still.
Let's not write it off then.
Don't write it off yet. Don't say never.
Don't say never. The old saying, don't say never.
Just say never. And they also say don't say hate, because hate's not a thing you should say, because don't say never hate. Wait, no, maybe you should say never hate. Damn it.
Damn, I'm stumbling all over my words now.
That's the two things they said I shouldn't say, but when I put them together, it sounds pretty good, don't it? Never hate. That sounds okay. Shit. My whole life just got turned upside down.
Fuck yeah, dude. Perfect note to head into the random take, where we are going to talk. Well, we're going to catch up quick about fantasy football. It won't take over, because then we're going to talk about Cartoon Network. We've talked about cartoons here quite a bit. We talk about video games and cartoons, like Tim said at the beginning. Is like they're two kind of reoccurring topics. Some big stuff happening with the Cartoon Network specifically lately. I don't even know if Tim knows. I'm gonna look up that new Aqua Teen movie here in between. But that is going to be the random take. That's going to do it for the fishing. And don't you doubt us. We're going to do this again at the beginning of the year. That's for sure.
Revisit.
Until then.
Dude, a vision. Oh, can I put a new goal on right now and say a vision board? Because honestly, if I saw dogfish on there every time I went to the cabin, I'd be like, oh yeah, shit.
A fishing vision board.
Oh, vision.
Yeah, I'm putting it on right now. Vision board. I can't even type it because it sounds too cool. Fisherman individual. That's what it says. That's what it says currently, thanks to autocomplete.
Perfect.
All right, man. Here we go. Into the break. Next thing, we're going to be talking about a little bit of fantasy football and some cartoons.
Yo.